So thank you for meeting with me and allowing me the opportunity to visit your classroom the other day. It was wonderful seeing all of the children engaged and eager to participate with one another. They were really, intrigued by the discussion, and it was really wonderful to see.
Thank you.
So the point of our meeting today is to discuss my observation of your lesson and to reflect on the lesson based on our pre-observation meeting. So during that pre-observation meeting, we decided on 3 areas of focus. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so the 3 areas were building a relationship with students, student engagement, yep, and helping students interact with new knowledge.
Yep.
So how do you feel that the lesson went?
I think the lesson went fairly well. I know based on the 3 goals that we had talked about, probably the best area I think that the lesson went well in is the establishing relationships. And I know at our pre-meeting we discussed how close the students are and how they already have pre-existing relationships with one another. Obviously we know we want them to have wonderful relationships at school, whether it's at recess or in their classes, but I think it's really important that they're able to establish those relationships when they're learning as well.
Absolutely.
So I think that was definitely a highlight of the lesson. In regards to students' engagement, I think they definitely were engaged throughout the lesson. Of course, I think there were definitely ways that I could have included maybe some higher order thinking that might have helped to engage, especially my higher students. And that goes along with interacting with new knowledge as well. So I look forward to kind of talking about those areas of improvement too.
So do I, absolutely. So let's take it one area at a time.
Okay.
I shared a table of my, chart of my observation with you, evidence that I found, only so that it's to clarify it and to kind of give us a point to look at and really focus on.
Sure.
So did you have an opportunity to look through it?
Yes, I did.
Great, okay. So let's focus on establishing and maintaining effective relationships first.
Great.
So when I came in, you had the essential question and the objective on the smart board. It said, is it okay for a person to tell a fib or a lie? And you connected that to their experience. You said, have you ever told a fib or a lie? And I thought that was great, making it personal to them. The kids really seemed to engage well with one another with that. I saw that they were challenging each other's thoughts and ideas. So I think that was a great way to personalize it for them and make it real for them. Can you give me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I definitely think that they were engaged with the question. One of the things that we also talked about in the pre-meeting was this entire topic is quite controversial. And although they might not know that, I think the idea that they've always kind of, or you assume, I guess, that they've been taught, at least from us, and I'm sure at home as well, that they shouldn't lie, regardless of whatever is happening. But now in the story that we've been reading, they are given an example of a parent that has told a fib to her son. And it's not in any way to hurt him. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's to help him. And so I think that part of it can be quite controversial. Was it okay that she did it if it wasn't for a bad reason or to get out of trouble? In fact, it was to actually help him. So I think that part of it really engaged them because they were challenged a bit. Is it okay or is it not?
Right.
One thing I think I could have probably done better was give them more of an opportunity to discuss their own experiences with this. I did ask them if they had ever told a fib or a lie, and they talked about that with their classmates, but I didn't really give them, I don't think, enough time to personalize that, to say, well, I did it when, X, Y, and Z, and why. I think that could have helped them maybe be a little bit more understanding of one another and help their relationships. So. Yeah,
I absolutely would do that. I think that would be a great opportunity to do that. And also, I think you should put yourself into that scenario. Have you ever told one?
Yeah.
Look at the story. She told a lie, right? So that because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, or because she may have told a lie for the greater good. So when is it okay? And you bring yourself into it, personalize yourself, humanize yourself with the kids, because you can see that they have a strong bond with one another, and that they're comfortable challenging each other and each other's ideas. but making it personal and bringing yourself into that scenario, I think would really help build a relationship and a bond with the kids. So I thought that was great.
Definitely.
Moving from there, I also saw that you did a lot of positive reinforcements. A lot of, oh, I see your point, that's a great idea. So I think that was a wonderful way also to build that relationship with the kids. So yes, I was very impressed with that. Moving on to the next area of focus, interacting with new knowledge. So, you when you started that discussion about the lie and the fib, they started talking about, well, what's the difference, right?
Yep.
And you were comparing it. You asked them to go back to the text, which I thought was wonderful, find evidence in the text, to differentiate between the two, find synonyms.
Yep.
So I thought that was wonderful, but you also did an exit ticket.
Yes.
So you said, okay, do we understand? Do we not understand? And it came out that they were still a little bit confused.
Yeah.
So I was trying to brainstorm different ways that you might clarify that for them. And I saw that you have a lot of visual learners in the classroom, and I thought perhaps using a Venn diagram,
Yes.
or some type of chart where they can compare and contrast and have that visual might help them better understand that. So what do you think about that?
Yes, definitely. When they were working on in groups together with their sheets, I was able to help some of the students with, like using highlighters, larger fonts. I gave some of them sentence starters or examples just to help them. But for those visual learners, I think that would have been a little bit clearer for them, and they could have organized their thoughts a little bit better. Later on, after we had discussed it a little bit, we actually did use one quite recently, and I did,
wonderful.
I did ask the students, how they felt about it. Was it easier to organize their thoughts and discuss it after having that? And they said yes. So I think that's something, in the future that I could definitely use, not just for, reading lessons, but other lessons too.
Absolutely. Okay. Also with interacting with, with the knowledge, I saw that you added the words, the synonyms that they found, you immediately charted them, which I think that signaled to the children that this is critical information and it's important. I thought that was great.
Yeah. And maybe using that information into the web, like if I gave them one, that visual, and then if they were able to chart that, they're able to use their own web then later on when they're working on, other information about the text.
Right. So you could use a Venn diagram on the board, or each one could have their own, and they can chart it that way so that they have their own hard copy of that. So I think that would be, absolutely. That would definitely also be very helpful, I think. I see that you also used an assessment.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So the class uses a website, and the website kind of does a couple of things. It allows me, it gives data quite easily and quickly, and the website's called Nearpod, so it allows me to ask them questions and they answer. There's a little bit of a competition with it, and I think that kind of boosts the students' confidence when they're working. So they kind of have a visual where they each pick like an icon, and so they could pick like a penguin or a dog or whatever piques their interest, and then I can ask questions based on the lessons, and depending on if they get them right or wrong, they see themselves sort of like climbing a mountain or climbing a hill. And as they are working, it live feeds to me, and I'm able to see how many students got certain questions wrong, what percentage of students got them wrong, which student got which question wrong. And then by the end, it prints out a full description of every student, and it even tells me areas where, like, questions we should go back over, which was really helpful for me when wanting to re-engage with students about the lesson, the next day. I was able to see which students I really had to check in with, which students really got it and maybe could even help those students that were struggling.
And I think it's crucial that you use that data. You did partner work, but you also did small group work.
Yes.
So utilizing that data that assessment gave you would help you to formulate those groups.
Absolutely.
And to differentiate your instruction based on, whoever needed reinforcement with the lesson or whoever was more advanced. And I did see that you did have, some children had sentence starters in their scenarios.
Yep.
Some children, you went to those groups more than others. So I think that that was a great way. And I saw that you did a lot for students who needed extra support.
Yeah.
How do you feel about students that needed extensions or needed higher order thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think we always kind of assume that the students that tend to be in, the lower groups kind of need us a little bit more, which maybe they do, but we have to remember also that those higher order students also need us, and they need us to challenge them. So for some of those groups, I was able to give them a little bit more of a challenge when they had to describe their answers. But I definitely think checking in with them a little bit more and seeing, okay, even if they've gotten this point, can I add to that? Can I ask more questions for them? So spending a little bit more of the time with that higher group, I think for my next lesson will be key.
And then moving on to the engagement area of focus, I saw that when they were in small groups, that you signaled to them with a clapping.
Yes.
That it was time to come back to the whole group. And you could see that that's something that's routine, something that they're very familiar with. So I thought that was wonderful, a great way to re-engage students and recapture their attention. But I also saw that you went over to a student prior to the clapping, maybe about 2-3 minutes prior, to give them an advanced warning that that was going to happen.
Yes.
So tell me about that student and the purpose of that.
So I think, of course, we have different learners in our classroom. And for some students, telling them, as a whole class with a clap, okay, we have 5 minutes left, can bring quite a level of anxiety, especially if they know that they're not almost finished. So going over more quietly to let them know, okay, hey, in about, in a minute or two, I'm going to give the class a warning that we have 5 minutes left. So also a redirection for them, because if I see, not just for him personally, but for any of the students, if I see that maybe they're a bit distracted, I do want to give them that heads up before making them anxious that, oh, now I only have 5 minutes. So that redirection, I think, really helped him in those couple minutes. Okay, I do need to be on the ball, because in a couple of minutes, we're going to have that reminder.
I thought that was great. Some students are not ready, that quickly to be able to re-engage. So I think giving them that forewarning was very helpful. But I thought that, I thought of myself, what's an easier way, as opposed to having to go over to that group and talk to him and draw attention to that. So I thought perhaps using a visual, like the little sand hourglass things, or a timer or something like that, might give that child or children that require that advance notice, look, I see the sand going down, I know that my time is running out. So it gives them, again, your visual learners having a concrete, visual, hands-on way to know that time is running out, I need to complete this, and we're going to re-engage soon.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so let's see. I did see you, also walking around, making sure that the kids were on task, engaging in conversations with the students. This evidence demonstrated, the positive relationship that you have with the students, and also gave you the ability to ask higher order questions to children that you thought might require that. And to also sit down and assess student understanding. So I thought that was, a great component as well. So the only thing I would say is maybe we can create an action plan together.
Sure.
About next steps.
Absolutely.
So, overall, I think you did a fantastic job. I really enjoyed the lesson. The children were engaged. They really interacted with the knowledge. There was a lot of discussion. So I thought those were all, wonderful, positive things. But perhaps we could incorporate a few more visuals in your next lesson.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Definitely.
So I was thinking maybe we could use like a SMART goal to be able to achieve it.
Okay.
So we're going to have, we want it to be measurable, attainable. We want to be able to give it a time, by one, and more creative. So we're going to be working on incorporating more visuals.
Okay, great.
Anything else? Any other area that you want to focus on?
Definitely with those higher, that higher group, definitely spending a little bit more time.
So
making sure that I reach each group.
So questioning.
Questioning, yeah, definitely.